Exploring limitless potential. What does that look like? Today's guest is Danny Ho from Scarab Digital on Behind the Book. Let's jump in. Welcome to Behind the Book, where I am your guide, Heather Andrews, unraveling the captivating stories from behind the pages. Join me as I sit down with authors from the literary landscape to delve into challenges, inspirations, and untold tales that breathe life into their written worlds. Exploring limitless potential. Today on Behind the Book, I have Danny Ho of Scarab Digital, and we're going to talk about all things culture, video, book covers, and especially Culture Revolution and his backstory to how his company began. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. What made you write in the Culture Revolution book?
Well, it's actually inspired by the fact that having a business, I've had a business for 25 years now, been in my industry, film industry, for 30 years. And, entrepreneurship is not easy. Yeah. And you have your, when I started, I was such a young little punk, basically. And so you have these trials and tribulations and journeys that you go through. Even in fact, I would say first 10, 15 years, I just shot it from the hip. I wasn't even really concentrating on making a business. So much of the film industry revolves around referrals and who you know. Yeah. And so you get your next job like that. So marketing, all this kind of things you didn't have to do. And so work came to you. However, at a certain point when you go through hardship, then you get the reality, and so then you really have to turn on the furnace and actually concentrate. Look, what are you really doing here? I'm not a young punk anymore. Yeah. And so you do have to concentrate on the business, and you have to think about, do you want to make this better? Right. And so I've learned so much over the time, and there's lots of self-help books out there and such. Yeah. I just want to give back what I've learned. And so it's a bit of inspiration and some prompting from a business coach of mine that I've learned from as well. Absolutely. And so just to pay it forward for those that are maybe in similar industries, and can take even one takeaway. If I can pass on something that someone can make, help them in their journey that I didn't have in my time, then it's done its job.
I love that. Thank you. When you did your interview with me in the very beginning, when we were talking about your chapter, I know you were like, I don't have a story, but when you got into understanding the analogy, you used the word limitless, and that was basically from the movie with Bradley Cooper. How does that compare, and what made you kind of go into that direction in your chapter, or at least one piece of it?
Well, for one thing, in the movie, Eddie Mora, he has this opportunity. He's down and out. He's kind of at his low point in his career. He's a writer. He's got writer's block. He can't move forward, and he's getting desperate. Yeah. He stumbles upon a drug, which is called NZT. Yeah. And through the drug, it is actually a drug that turns on his brain, mm-hmm. and makes you the best of what you could ever be. And so, I find that these nuggets of wisdom that have come along the way equate to that thought. It's these strategies or ways to apply to your team. They are ways for you to understand the person and actually find their inner NZT. It's almost like they have a natural NZT in them. Mm-hmm. And how do you know what your own NZT is? So with these systems in place, wouldn't every entrepreneur want that? Yeah, absolutely. And so it was inspirational to find the ability to have a system that actually can encapsulate that. Right.
So basically it's a great tagline of helping everyone find their own NZT.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I love that. Exactly. And when we spoke that day, you went through when you really noticed shifting in your own world of culture? It was when your business mentor, I think, introduced you to Clifton Strengths.
Right.
And I know a lot of our conversation was about that, and it's in your chapter in Culture Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just give a little bit of background as to what the biggest aha was for that journey for you of the Clifton Strengths and how it rippled into your company?
Well, first, so, it's a tough thing to comprehend first. So there's a lot of systems out there. Many people have probably heard of DISC, and then Myers-Briggs is a very, very common one. The thing about these, yes, they evaluate you. They're some sort of personality assessment. They give you an output of, you're an INFP. I don't even know what that means, but I've heard it before. But
or you're a color.
Yeah, exactly. So it gives you a category. It lets you understand a little bit about yourself. However, what they all lack in terms of a system is ability to grow from that.
Right.
And so Clifton Strengths, surprisingly not too common out there, but it's supported by one of the biggest companies out there, Gallup. The Gallup polls, they have a huge database, and many Fortune 500 companies have use Clifton Strengths, and so they have a huge database that they've analyzed, and they've honed it down from this founder who kind of created the whole system, Don Clifton, and what it allows you to do is have a system to not only identify these traits in yourself, and it happens to be that it deciphers it into 34 traits. Mm-hmm. However, in each person, really as a company, you want to concentrate on the top 5. Okay. You can actually encapsulate the top 10, but if you're just starting, concentrate on the top 5. And what the top 5 strengths are innate abilities that come to you subconsciously, just like breathing. They're not things you apply to them every day, not just to work, to your everyday life. Any challenges or problems, you would lean on these top 5 strengths. And so from there, though, the system allows you to not only know and name your strengths, but it also allows you to understand a common language amongst your team members to be able to understand how those people think. And you ever wonder how come someone cannot understand something from my perspective and learn it the way I know it? It was because they have a different language or thought process to approach everything. Yeah. So once you understand their language and how they think, then now you can completely apply that as a team, and actually not only that, understand, okay, I understand where my strengths are. And there's so many companies that, your development process is like, oh, look, this is where your weaknesses are. This SWOT analysis, for example, right? Yeah. This is where your weaknesses. Let's work on that. Yeah. Well, in this Clifton Strengths mentality, why bother? It's not natural to you. You're forcing a big boulder uphill. That's not something natural to you. But the top 5 is extremely natural to you. It's your natural. Like I said, you don't even think to. It's like breathing. You don't even have to think to apply it. So why wouldn't you combine your team members to have their job duties and development on their strengths specifically, and not care about their weaknesses? And if there are weaknesses, you partner them with someone who has those strengths that are absolute weaknesses in their top 5. Right. And so now you're building a very well-rounded team where you have a full-rounded team because you know their strengths. Yeah. So that's kind of where it all stems from.
To me, that's brilliant. Not only from a perspective of somebody knows their strengths and then they know what they need to become stronger at, but yet they can learn from that other person as well. And it's just making your team stronger when everybody operates from that space.
That's right. There's another level to that. You find that, we've reshaped how we operate now around the strengths profiles. Mm-hmm. Obviously at the time of hiring, someone could say, oh, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at that. But how do you know if that truly is? They might think that is, but you do the assessment. Now because it's very, you can't fake this test. From their standpoint, after you're 16 years old, you basically are you're kind of molded essentially.
Right.
And so, and once you know their strengths, you have the ability to kind of know more about them than they do in a way.
Yeah.
And it's just remarkable to be able to build a team around that.
That's awesome. That's well, because how long have you had your company? It's like 25 years.
25 years.
Absolutely.
And we've applied the strengths profiles
Yeah.
in the last 4 years or so.
Okay.
And so, you want to build a team where you know and you can identify the gaps. And the thing is about the top 5 strengths, you want to make sure that their roles
Mm-hmm.
are surrounding the strengths. So, everything that they do related to their job responsibilities should be related to their top 5, because that way they're always going to be engaged. If you have your job duties are related to your top 5, it's not like work to them.
Yeah.
It's like fun.
Yeah. So we're going to come back to that in the next episode about the outcomes of how implementing this Clifton Strengths also benefit the individuals of your company, but also your company and some of those outcomes as we move forward. So as we wrap up, Danny, and we're going to continue this conversation, where can people find you on social media?
They can find us at scarabdigital.com, and on LinkedIn, you can find myself, Danny Ho, at LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next episode of Behind the Book with Danny Ho from Scarab Digital. And make sure that you go and grab the copy of Culture Revolution from Amazon. We'll see you next time. As we close another chapter on Behind the Book, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our wonderful authors for sharing their stories. I'm Heather Andrews, reminding you that the adventure doesn't end here. Keep turning those pages, and I will see you next time.